is trying, for instance, and I'm going to try and find something that is easy. So maybe, the telecoms age, when people were looking at how to make sure people could make phone calls, right? But from the position of, why do I need this product, to say, okay, how exactly am I going to move forward with this product? What are the actions I need to take to be able to take this from a why to a position of getting closer to taking this out to the market and distinguishing ourselves from, other products that are available out there. And then the what's, which is the last element, is being able to explain the uniqueness of your products, right? The attributes of your product, the benefits of your product. And I would typically say, when you're getting to this what stage, it should not be a case of people would have to think through it to say, what value do you bring to the table, right? If your why is clear enough, right, and you have a very strong reason, right, for that product, if you are able to go through the process and be able to develop the product and be sure that this product is distinct, or you have now been able to develop it to be able to achieve the whys and meet the questions, then the what, in terms of the features, the attributes, the product in itself should speak for itself, right? When people use it, they should be able to, connect with the final product, right? Sometimes, and I must say, some products will come up and the initial version of that product might not be what you would have been the initial conceptualization, right? But from the first, ideation, from the first version, which is your MVP, then you can continue to then make subsequent updates and continue to go back to the why, continue to see what you can change, continue to see, well, are there other associated benefits that can come from this, and can you continue to improve this so that you can continue to have a more recent, a more updated, a more relevant product for your users. Okay, so this is the flow in terms of going from your what to your how, and then from your why to your how, and then to your what. Now, really, you have to ask yourself, do people really want or need your products? Right? A lot of times people have gone into rooms, people have gone into sessions, people have over the years gone through, oh, I believe this is a very relevant product. I believe this product is needed now. As people will say, after sliced bread, this is the next best thing, right? And I'll use an example that I heard a gentleman at one of the sessions that I attended. He mentioned how he had thought about, creating flavored and flavored baked goods, right, produce. And he had thought to himself, I wanted to make really nice, different kinds of breads. And, through that, the person then said, we could have, like tuna version of bread, we could have coconut options, we could have all that, use quality products and all. Right. And then he made quite a lot of them. And then, he took them out to the streets and to the stores and had them side by side with the standard, basic, everyday bread. And he was surprised to see that people consistently went back to the basic one, basic version. It wasn't as if he didn't have a good product. It wasn't as if, but in terms of the need, was it something that people need? If someone a loaf of bread in that area, especially where he was targeting, it was more of a need. They wanted to satisfy their hunger. At that point, it wasn't a case of I wanted a gourmet, version of bread. I just wanted bread that would fill me up and at the price points that I'm familiar with, right? So was it a want or was it a need, really? So you must be clear and you must be true to yourself. What I'm providing, the solution that I want to bring out, I want to develop, is it a need or is it a want? Is it a nice to have? Is it a must have? Is it a good to have? Is it something that, without it today, people cannot, there'll be a gap that, needs to be filled. And just so I go back there, I know the current Nigerian situation and what is happening now, and subsequently perhaps I'll speak to it. But yes, I am aware that there's certain products that might start out as a want, but over time will then transition to becoming a need, right? But you must be able to determine at the point where you're thinking of digital products, is this really a want? Is it a good to have? Is it a must have? Is it a necessity? Because that would also affect how your product is actually, received in the market. And that would also affect the growth of your products, right? And of your company ultimately. So now we'll go to, what are the steps? What should you consider, before you actually, do anything? The first thing is you have to think about the market research, right? It's very important for you required traction that you're expecting. It might not make the impact that you're expecting for it to make. So you have to find out, really, who is the target audience, who am I trying to reach, and what am I trying to communicate, what solution am I trying to bring to the table. And then in terms of the product idea validation, that is very, very important. Before you actually go, full throttle, before you go and make, 1,000 versions of this, before you go and invest all your hard-earned money, before you go and put the money of your investors, your shareholders, and all that into this, very important for you to actually validate it, because and when you're doing, it's another conversation that when you're doing this product validation, you have to be sure that you have the right set of people that are there to help you with the validation. Because sometimes if you have like-minded people and you have people that are also, that their experience and their thought process is the same thing with yours, right? That can also affect the outcomes of your validation. So before you build the product, it's important for you to test it. How desirable is this product, right? What is the visibility of this product? What's the viability of this product, right? And then it's important at this stage to also check also, am I looking at this in terms of, my immediate environment? Am I looking at this in terms of a national approach? So if I say an immediate environment for Nigeria, that would be probably if somebody is in Lagos, is this suitable for Lagos? If I was in Abuja, is this suitable? Of course, the suitability, the desirability for a product in Abuja, in Lagos, will probably be different from the desirability and the stability of that product if you're looking at someone maybe in Akure or you're looking at somebody in Zamfara, as the case may be, right? But at the same time, if you're thinking about it, that I'm looking at, yes, I want to start with Lagos, I want to start, then expand beyond Lagos to Abuja, it might be my phase 2, and then go into Port Harcourt, and then I continue to expand at that level. And over time, my ultimate goal is this product will become a global product, right? You must know that, and you must use that approach also for all the various steps in your development stages, right? So product validation, before building it, you must say, what's the desirability, how feasible is it, and what's the viability of this idea. Now, once you have done that, you then have to think about, the niche, are you producing this for a specialized focus area? Or are you going to, are you looking to, you have, a wide base? And I think I spoke to that a bit previously, right? There's some products I have to mention, and I must recognize that they're for a very select few, right? Some people call them, they have the snob appeal, right? For these products, you're not looking to reach out to millions of people. The way they've been built and the way they've been conceptualized, and the idea is, just a few handful of people, perhaps, and even if people are interested, there will be an intentional effort to make sure that not everybody that is interested, not everybody that even has access to the funds can still, have this product. So those are unique outlier situations. But if you've scoped, your idea, well, you've done your research and your ideation is that you want to have this product to be like mass market, is a retail product, you want to be able to go wholesale retail, you want to make it available to everybody, then you have to make sure that, your focus area, and the target audience is well conceptualized, and you build that through your product. So you wouldn't do a Rolls Royce kind of product and expect that retail markets, and mass markets would be able to, uptake, the uptake for that product will be by the retail markets and mass market. At the same time, you wouldn't do a product that is built for retail and mass market and then try to then force it through and say that you want, the upscale people to be able to use it. So you must be very clear of, while doing your market research, who is your target audience? Who are the people that you're trying to make sure have access to this? There are very few products that can be everything to everybody. So you have to be clear at the onset, what you're trying to achieve. Now, once you've done that, you then go into what are your strategies, for launching, right? And then you have to identify, like I mentioned, your target audience, before you start, who are they, what are their needs, what are their pain points, how do you intend to be able to, approach this? Then defining your value proposition. Your value proposition is very, very important, right? Really, what is the benefit? Like we mentioned, it must be very clear, it must be concise, it must not be ambiguous, it must not be something that people will have to think about it, or what value is it? I sometimes we all have those kind of products, right? When we look at it and sometimes you ask yourself, what exactly is this meant to achieve? So you must be clear what it is, and you must be sure that your target audience also are able to identify, what is the value that you're bringing on board. Now you then have to create a prototype, right? So I'm sure some of you will have heard within the tech space, people keep saying, MVP, you must test it, you must validate the ideas. You have to. It's important. In fact, sometimes I say that MVP is very important to the person that developed the product owner, the idea owner. As much as you're trying to test these ideas out with real customers, it's very important for you, because in that process of carrying out that test and doing the validations, you'll be able to find, possible, holes, plugs, loopholes, improvement points, improvement areas that are very, very important for you. And then when you're doing that controlled, test, it also helps you to be able to address situations that you might not have been able to address if you had done a full launch and losses. I can't remember what movie it was when I was younger, where the gentleman put all his money into making of this box, and he was just trying to compel people to sell it. He had it in his hands and all that. These days you don't have to do that anymore. Even before you actually do the launch, you must get a group of people together, get them to test it, get them to validate it. Does it work this way? Oh no, let's tweak this, let's adjust this. Okay, then you go back again, modify it. And now you can do various versions of the same thing. You can version 1, version 2, all the way to, every day. I'm sure with all the people on this call, if you have an iPhone or even an Android, most times you go into an application and you say, oh yes, a new release has been, created, and then you can update it, and you can, keep updating it and keep getting, updated features and, benefits from that, right? So that's very important. Then the next is, developing a marketing strategy, right? As much as possible, there are very few products that people are developing just, because they don't want to have other people hear about them, or they already have their target audience and they don't have to think about marketing, right? A lot of us and a lot of products, and if you're someone that is trying to develop a new digital product, it's very, very important. You must think about your marketing strategy. It's very, very important. What are the tactics? How would you generate awareness? How are you going to let people to know about this? Even when people know about it, how are you going to convert them from a position of just knowing about it to them actually really using the products and being willing to pay good money, for it? That's the next step. And then from there, you have to go to launching and gathering information. I hope someone will let me know if I'm running out of time, but I'm going to try as much as possible to, speed it up. So launching and gathering feedback, when you launch your products, you have to get feedback, from the early adopters, like we said, use their feedback to improve and iterate on the products, use it, to be able to track what are the things I need to do better. What are the areas of improvements? How can we get this to be better than it is, and continue to improve on it, as you go along. And then you have to think about scale and optimizing it, right? You must validate the products, right? You must find out, there's some products that everybody that uses it will not be using it at the profitable margin that you have identified. So if you have a product that has maybe like 10 features, for instance, you will have one feature that might be your real, key products that is generating the most revenue. Some other features on that might just be add-ons, right? And the add-ons might be the ones that will get you the largest traffic, the highest traffic, right? The profit margin from them might be very minute. But if you think about it in terms of the retail approach, in terms of trying to increase your customer base, the number of people that are aware of your product and all that, that's the business side of it. Those add-ons that are not generating, the desired level of income or profits per user. But when you think about the volumes and the reach that you get, if it's a good product that people like, that might be where your main focus would be. And the key and the primary feature that you built might be maybe just a few people that would use it, but the profit margin for that might be significantly higher than you'd have for the feature that most of your customer base are using. And this is something that you find out from data. So if a business owner, I hear people say, no, I don't like numbers, I'm not interested in business, I have the ideas, you better get people that are very good, that have sound business ideas, right? People that are interested and they know numbers, they would help you crack the numbers, they're into data, because they would help you to check, what are the insights, what are the things that at what time in the day are people logging into your platforms more? At what times are the most transactions happening? The average person that is using your product, that is adopting your product, what's their age? Are they the primary users of your product? Or are they the secondary users? Sometimes the people that are using your products are not the ones that are paying for it. Sometimes your products are being used by people that they have is somebody else that is paying for it, right? But the person for you to target is the person that is not the paying customer. So there are various items like that if you're not careful and you don't embrace data, you might miss, right? So data is very, very, very important. And those insights that you get from data would also help you in terms of knowing who to, target, who to, try to approach, who you should market to, who you should try to make sure that is coming into your, is becoming a user of your products, right? And that is very, very important. And you use that for improving your products. You also use it for driving growth. Right now, when you're talking about acquiring users for your products, we've spoken previously around the whys, right? Why do you need this, right? Once people are able to identify the whys, once you're able to communicate to them the whys, then it's easy for you to sell. I typically will say to growth people, sometimes somebody's trying to sell a product and then the growth person comes back, or these salespeople, depending on how you're calling them, right, will say, oh yeah, I got resistance, they told me no, they didn't want to use it today, they told me to come back tomorrow, or they told me that they didn't have enough money today, because you're probably, not speaking to the right people, right? If you are speaking to the right people, they understand the benefits that your product is trying to bring, the benefits of your products. They understand the solution you're trying to bring to the table. There's a gap, obviously, that your product seeks to, help them close. Then it's very simple and very easy for you to be able to sell it, right? So the example here is if you have a mobile, fitness app for tracking fitness, right? What do people want to? They want to be healthier, right? On that app is not when you now start telling people about gourmet restaurants, or when you now start telling people about, if you go to a restaurant 2 blocks away, there's somewhere where you can buy this lovely meal and the calories is 3,000 calories, right? It's contractual, why do you want to do that? What they want is just track my fitness, how am I able to move, right? Okay, yes, maybe you can build it in. When you start approaching, if the app is smart enough and you start approaching a restaurant, you can bring an alert and say, dangerous area, don't go here, calories are here and all that. Then perhaps you can do that. But like I mentioned, you must be clear on the whys. What are you trying to achieve? And what is the purpose of this solution? Now, in terms of product positioning, you have to be able to say, like I mentioned, the niche markets, demonstrate to prospective users, why do they need it? Why is it different from other solutions that are available in the market? And sometimes it can be very subtle, differences, right? Some people might just be a case of, do you know that if you go onto this, perhaps maybe your data has been tracked? Are you aware that if you use this app versus the other one that you have, perhaps over a long period of time, you will have saved X amounts of money if it's important? Or are you aware that if you're using this app, for instance, is contributing to eradicating poverty? If you find out that somebody is, very driven towards that, eradicating poverty, in these regions and all that. So you must be sure, how do you intend to position your product? What are the key things that you're trying to communicate? And now, how are you trying to tell people that your product is different from another alternative that is there? Now, also based on that why and based on your product positioning, right? Then you have to now think about creating, brand awareness and visibility. Please give me 1 minute. I need to just 1 minute. Let me just get my power source charged. I'm sorry about that.
All right, fine. Thank you. Hope you've been enjoying this webinar so far because she has been dropping gems. Yeah, so let's just let her get her power charged, then we'll come back to Hi guys. So do you have any questions so far for her? Because we know this is already like past time, and if you have questions, please do well to like type them in the chat box. Type here, just type here so that when she comes back on stage, you'll just be able to take questions and we'll call it a day. So please do well to like drop your questions below, right? Thank you. And also, if you want to just talk, you can actually just raise your hand and I will allow you to talk. You can raise your hand and request for the mic. Yeah, any which way. Thank you.
Some of the questions.
Yeah, the you can see the Q&A, right? Or should I read them out?
Oh, let me see. While I'm trying to, no, I can't see. I can't see.
Oh, okay. So some question: how do you know when your why is strong enough to start building a product?
Very interesting question. Could you kindly enable me to share while I'm trying to,
Yeah.
to answer that?
So
So
I'll make
I,
you a
I hope
host.
the lighting is good. It's literally just the same office. I just moved to locations, but it seems as if it's also clear from my side. But if you can see me, that's fine.
So so
So the
as a
question
host, you can
around,
see them. Yeah,
pardon?
you can see it as a host. Yeah.
Okay. So the question around how do you know when your why is strong enough, right? And that you're ready to go. It's a very valid question. Sometimes in the process or when we're trying to have a compelling enough reason, some of us will then not move, we stay there and then continue to, think about it, and then this, what do you call it now? For people that never get to move things. In fact, I eradicated it from my mindset. People that just keep procrastinating, right? You just keep saying, okay, I'm still trying to get to the perfect, solution, right? So there are frameworks that you can use, there are steps that you can use. You remember we mentioned around, doing the market research. So if you've carried out the research to find out, is there a gap? What am I trying to achieve? What is the solution I'm trying to bring? So if you said, is there a gap? Yes. What am I trying to achieve? What is the solution I'm trying to bring forward? What is the next closest product to this? Is there an existing target audience? What is the price point at which people will be willing to pay for this? Would I make money from this? Is it profitable? What was the impact? Once you're able to answer some of these questions, right, then you're good to go. Now, what you don't want to do is to continue to wait. Maybe, for instance, you found out, oh, yes, there's a need for us to have like devices that once is at 10% and all that, student parties or have maybe reserve, some reserve somewhere that will then kick in and all that. It means you've identified that, oh, yes, that's a gap, that's something that is suitable, that's something that is relevant and all that. Perhaps you want to go ahead and start, running with that. Because the risk of not running with it when you have identified it and you validated and confirmed that there's a gap is that while you're still harassing and trying to think around doing it, somebody else is going to come and is going to go into the market and is going to do that. And so most times people will have first user advantage, right? So once you identify the why is strong enough, you've been able to ascertain that it meets some basic checks, you can go ahead. Of course, you then continue, like I mentioned in previous slides, you then continue to improve on it so that it continues to be relevant. I hope answers that question. Okay, so this is where I stop.
Oh, okay. I think she's breaking up again.
Okay, so how do you then make sure that you're getting the right awareness and the visibility for your products? Paid advertising, sponsorships. That marketing is one of the things that people that are business owners don't like thinking about. It's not just business owners, business leaders, because it's expensive. For each of this, you have to put dollars on the table. When I say dollars, it means marketing dollars, which is, when you convert it in naira, you can imagine what is happening, right? But these are important, right? Because if you have a very good product, You're trying to get that product from being just something that your friends and family know about. You want to try and get it away from just what your colleagues, know about, what your people in your immediate community know about. Then you must get it out there, right? Sometimes the difference between two products, right, is just the number of awareness and the level of awareness that you have, right? So you can have one that the person goes in, invests in a lot of marketing at the right time once your product is good enough and stable enough, then invest in it and goes out. And the person just gets the first, mover advantage. People are downloading it, people are using it, people are adopting it. Then you have somebody else that is still there, that is still, trying to use, the more systemic, maybe organic approach to doing that, and the person might even have a better product, might have a more viable product, might have a product that the market will love, right? But by the time you're now going into the market eventually, the first person that had gone into the market would have, got everybody. And if they're, and I'll show that in another slide, if their retention is good, if they have, good products, if they have compelling stories and they're able to connect with them, with their users, then it's very difficult to tell them to leave and then to come, join you, right? So it's very important for you to also invest in getting the right awareness and the right visibility for your product. Now, so, important to then think about it. How do people feel when they use your product? Some people will say to you, oh, you know what, it's not about that, it's about its value, right? If you have something that is important, it's like saying that you want to sell water to somebody. It's water, so they should just be able to feel happy. But no, that's not how it is. When you're thinking about digital products, right, it has to really be something that people are excited even about. Because guess what? When they're excited about it, they will recommend to other people. They will tell other people about it. In fact, the studies shows that, the products that people use the most and people enjoy the most, and the types of customers that stay the longest are people that are referred by existing users, right? So you just think about it. Somebody owns your device. If it's a product, a digital product, are they excited? Do they smile? Are they happy? Or is it a case of they think about, oh gosh, I need to use this platform today, and all they're thinking about is the headache, the stress from it. And I have to share with you a personal experience last week, right? So there was a product that we developed, and then we're trying to onboard the management of the team for the first time, right? And then as they were each stage, as the person logged into the app, and I was like, oh, I got him, the excitement. I was so excited. It was almost, I couldn't understand it. And then after the person was able to get in, and then the person made their first investment on that, the person was so excited, was happy. I was happy. Other people that were there, were just wondering, and it was contagious. That is how your product should be. People should be so excited to think about it. When they think about Fondo, they're like, oh, wow, yes, this takes is less than 1 minute. I could do it easily. So when somebody else is complaining around, oh, no, when I want to use my banking platform, I want to try and do airtime, it's stressful, I won't get it, or I want to do transfer, it's filling every minute and all that. And then you just say like, oh, wow, have you thought about my product? Have you used Fondo before? It goes in 1 minute, right? That is what you need. So beyond the paid adverts, which most times people know are paid adverts, you want the adverts and the brand awareness and the what you call it. You want people to be able to refer your products to other people, right? Through use. And the people that can do that for you easily without you having to spend your precious marketing dollars are your existing users, right? So make sure your product is very easy to use. Make sure your product is, people are happy when they're using your product. Make sure the feedback from your product, yes, there will be off days because all platforms have that sometimes. You can't avoid that. But the baseline, the average response should be, this is a great product. This is a product I'm happy to use and I'll recommend to anybody anytime. Now, once you've done that, the next thing is that you have to then start thinking around, how do you retain users, right? What is the customer experience? And I usually say to people, your way of measuring customer experience and measuring how you're, attending to your customers should not be by the number of people that are coming to tell you that they have an issue, right? What you want to do is for them not to come to you and tell you that they have issues or they have problems that they want you to, to solve. So before they even come through, remember, like the question of the person I was saying, like, how do you know when the why has been identified. After you identify that why, you continue to improve on it. And that's one of the benefits of digital products. Even before the user comes to you with a negative feedback, you will have identified it by yourself and you continue to improve on it. Now, when there are then situations where you have to solve problems and all that, make sure that as you're doing it, you're giving them a fantastic experience. You're making sure that they understand that this is something that could have been avoided if it was. And then if you were quick enough, you were fast enough, and then after that instance, there's no repeat of it, right? So leave your customers smiling, leave your customers happy, leave your customers enthused, and always be empathetic, around that. Now, product iteration is very important, right? You must continue to evolve with the needs of your customers. You have some products that where people start using maybe from when we're in high school, right? And they're products like that through the years, people just stick with them. It's almost like when you say people are getting a Toyota, right? People will just typically, if your first vehicle is a Toyota as an example, you then start going through a high range until you get to the high range Toyotas and you start getting into the associated brands. It's the same thing like certain produce that people eat, right? They just stick to those brands, and you ask them why. There's another one. They're used to it. Now, what people don't know is that they continue to improve on those products, right? It's not the first version that you keep. You continue to improve. You continue to make it relevant. You continue to make sure that as times are changing, as new technology is coming up, you continue to update it. You continue to make sure that it is relevant. You continue to make sure that people are getting value for their money, right? And then you have to also think about the support, right? How are you supporting? Some people, some businesses have, over time, they've lost their, the focus is always on acquiring new customers. That they are, right? You can't take them for granted. You have to know that they do have only option that is available, right? So you have to continue to make sure that you're nurturing those relationships and you're making sure that you're supporting your existing users. And I think this is my final slide. I believe
Yeah.
I spoke to you earlier, right? It's very important for you to work with data. Data is very important. Use data analytics, use it for checking the performance of your product, use it to be able to check how well your product is doing, use data to be able to compare your products to other products in the market, use data to be able to plan and see what the insights are, who is your target audience today, in 10 years' time, who do you believe will be your target audience? Are they going to evolve? If they're evolving, would they be able to then recommend to you the newer audience, that you should have? For instance, if somebody started from high school, like I mentioned, and through the years, as that person is growing and all that, they're going to start having their own children and all that. Will their children come back to use your products? Are you going to develop other versions of your product that will be relevant to the newer generation? Is it the same, product that will be relevant to, those, you must use data to be able to make sure that you are taking the best decisions for your products. I know I have tried to run through it because I think we didn't do well with time at the start, but I hope I have been able to cover as much as possible. Thank
Yeah.
you very
Thank you so much, Abimbola. This session was lit on all grounds. We learned a lot. So much power pack value in the slides from the way you explain things, even answered questions. So I think we can just take maybe one more question. I'll call it a day since it's already past 5 and we webinars are like 1 hour for us. So maybe with just one question, we've had already a couple of questions in between. Maybe just one more. Who wants to go first? Right. I'm trying to search for questions. Does anybody want to have any question for Abimbola before she steps down from the stage? All right. I can't find any also in the Q&A.
much. That's
Okay.
good.
Yeah, it's good, honestly. Thank you so much, Amibola, for coming. Today has been a lot. You had so much busy schedules going on, and you took out time from your busy schedule to come have this session with us. Thank you so much for coming and delivering so
Thank
much
you.
value within a short time. Like the slide is to die for. Please, we need your slides to share back to the community. We need to keep it in our archives as a resource. Okay, you want to build a product, this is a resource that we've created by Abibola for you. Go refer back to it, and also the recording for today's event will also be uploaded on YouTube. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for, like, today is a lot both for Nigerians and everyone, and we're still able to like do this.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So everybody exercise, extreme caution.
Yeah,
Stay alive, be careful. We need you,
alive.
Um, and I wish you all the best. And thank you once again for having me. I've enjoyed being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abimbola, for coming.
Of the
Thank you,
great things
Fondor
that the
team.
community have done.
Yeah, thank you,
Have a lovely
Abisola,
day.
too. Thank you. And thank you, everyone who joined in today. Thank you, Farouk. You came so early. Thank you, Sanusi. Thank you, Temitokbe. Thank you, Sunday. Thank you, Modukbe. Thank you, Amos. Thank you, Olatunde, Folakemi, Olariwaju. Blessed. Thank you all for joining in today. And please have a lovely weekend. Remember to, while exercising your civic right tomorrow, be safe out there, vote right, and just be safe. Have a great weekend and see you all next week. Bye everyone and bye Abisola.